My friends trapped me in a bedrock prison and challenged me to break out of it, but it seemed impossible. The prison was called the Piston Prison. On the outside, it might look easy to escape, but on the inside, all the rooms were made of complete bedrock, making them impossible to mine out of. Am I gonna be good enough to—
You trying to give me a kiss?
That's right, guys, this is a 2-player prison. Me and my friend Grox are gonna try to escape the prison while—
Where am I?
That's right, guys, this is another 3-player prison. You guys liked the last one, but we're mad we didn't all escape. So this time I have one goal: escape with everybody. But are Ted, Grox, and myself gonna be good enough to get out? I don't know, but the escape starts now. Right off the bat in our cell, there was an oak plank and an item frame. There was also this guy in the corner who I knew was gonna get in my way. Through a hole in the wall, I could see a crafting table, but all I could make right now was an oak button, and that didn't seem too useful. On the other side of the cell, Grox saw a long lava-filled hallway with some land at the back, which is probably where we had to go. Me and Grox started clicking the lava to see if there was any hidden chests or furnaces with items, but there was nothing. So for now, it seemed like we were stuck in this bedrock box. Meanwhile, Teddy was floating in the sky above us on a bedrock platform. He was so high up that if he fell off, he would definitely die of fall damage. Teddy started looking around to figure out how to get down safely when he found these items above him on the bedrock. He started collecting the items carefully to make sure they didn't fall off into the lava. When he was done, he had 4 oak planks and a spyglass. Now, the first idea Teddy came up with to get down was to try to block clutch on this wall and build his way down. The problem though is that was very risky, because if he missed the jump, he would fall in the lava. So before we did that, we tried to find a better solution. While Teddy was looking around the room, he told us something very important. The corners of the box we were in were hollow. Now I knew exactly what we had to craft. We had to make a boat, but we only had 1 oak plank. Luckily, Teddy had the other 4 oak planks we needed in his inventory. There was only one problem. How was Teddy supposed to pass the 4 oak planks to us through a layer of bedrock? Well, it turns out the answer was easy. All Teddy had to do was throw the oak planks on the roof above us. Now, you might be thinking, wait, what? Aren't those going to despawn in 5 minutes? And you and Grox have no way to access them. Well, that's not entirely true. In Minecraft, items of the same type form groups whenever they're near each other on the ground. So by throwing our oak plank just close enough to the items on the roof, they all got snapped down into the cell, and we now had everything we needed to craft a boat. So I went over to the crafting table and used our 5 oak planks to make a boat. Now, all I had to do to escape was place down the boat and drive it into the corner. When I got out, I would glitch through the other side because the corners were empty. I had now escaped the bedrock box. Sadly though, Grox had to stay inside because if he did it too, the boat would be trapped inside the cell and we wouldn't be able to get back to it. I started exploring around the outside, clicking into the lava to see if there was any items I could reach now that I was out here, but there was nothing. But when I got to the crafting table, I had an idea. I went back to Grox and had him throw me the boat carefully against the bedrock so it didn't fall in the lava. Then I parkoured back around to the crafting table, and by jumping up and down and shift clicking, after a while, I was able to place the boat on top of the crafting table. I got inside the boat and then I destroyed it, careful not to let it fall in the lava. After I did that, I saw an item frame with a potion inside of it. The potion was named Use to Get All 3 Across, and it was a fire resistance potion. But while I was up here, I had an idea. I put the boat back down and told Grox to get in, but it was a little bit too far out of his reach, so I got in and nudged it just to the edge of the block, and now he could access it. Me and Grox had both successfully escaped the bedrock box. Grox hopped onto the roof and I collected the boat and followed him. Now we only had one final problem. We had to get Teddy down here to us, but the solution to that was pretty simple, but Teddy was gonna have to be a bit of a god gamer. I put the boat in a good spot and let Teddy go for it. And he hit the clutch easy. Teddy does not miss those. We finally had all 3 of the boys together, but now we had to start thinking about what to do next. Somehow with just a boat and a fire resistance potion, we had to get to the other side of this long lava-filled hallway. But I actually had a pretty good idea of how we could get across. It was really dangerous though, so before we did it, I decided one of us should drink the potion and check the other side to see if there was anything we could use to get across easier. I threw the potion to Teddy and told him,
Scammer gets scammed.
Somehow the potion accidentally went into Grox's inventory and he refused to give it back, so he's the one we're sending across. Once Grox drinks this potion, we have 3 minutes to get all 3 of us to the other side, or else we're going to be stuck in this prison forever. We gave him a boost so that he didn't waste any seconds, and he started swimming to the other side of this hallway. After about 40 seconds, he got to the other side. He started looking around. There was a staircase that was too far away for him to jump to that was blocked off by a massive fall, so he had nowhere to go. He didn't see any items anywhere, and so not to waste any more time, he started heading back immediately so we could go with our initial plan. Some of you guys might remember another prison I escaped by boating on top of a Strider's head across lava. We didn't have a Strider in this prison though. What we did have was a Grox MC. Me and Teddy both got in the boat, and when Grox was close enough, we drove onto his head. In Minecraft, boats can't fall through entities, so Grox was basically able to carry me and Teddy above the lava on his head. The only problem was it was very tricky. If me and Grox got out of sync for even a second, the boat would fall off Grox's head and destroy instantly, leaving me and Teddy to burn to death in the lava. So we came up with a plan. Me and Grox headed for this wall. Once we got to the wall, we hugged it, and then all we had to do was tap W. This strategy worked really well because it made it really hard for us to possibly get out of sync. The only problem was we weren't really moving that fast. It wasn't until right about here that we realized we were going to be cutting it extremely close. No, Grox, I think we got to speed up.
Alright, screw it. I'm just gonna hold W.
We made it to the other side with literally seconds to spare. If we had been any slower, Grox would have burned to death in the lava, dropping me and Teddy in as well. But now we were here, all three of us got across, and we could take some time to really explore this area now that we weren't in a rush. So once Grox was done being on fire, we started looking around. We went back to over here, but basically everything Grox had seen was all there was to see. A giant hole that separated us from making it to the staircase. Now, you might be thinking maybe I could jump and place the boat and get in it, but the staircase isn't wide enough. It would have to be at least too wide for me to boat clutch on. So that wasn't an option. We went back and we checked the lava to see if there was any hidden items. You always got to take a look, but there was nothing. So we were all a bit stumped. We couldn't go back from where we came from, and there would be no point to do that. And we also had no way to get across this giant gap because all we had left was a boat, and it'd be impossible to cross this giant gap with just a boat, right? Well, what if I told you that wasn't true? There actually was a way to get across this giant gap with just a boat. The only problem is one of us would have to stay behind, and that's when Teddy volunteered to stay back. He gave Grox his spyglass and got ready to do one of the most broken Minecraft glitches to ever exist. This glitch would let you fly while in survival mode, but in order to do it, Teddy was going to have to change a few things. See, you couldn't do the glitch in full screen mode. You have to switch to windowed, and you might be thinking that's a really weird condition. Why does that matter? Because you have to have access to this white bar at the top of your screen. By right-clicking it, you make it so that the server can no longer send or receive your packets, basically freezing you in midair. So Teddy ran off and jumped, and he froze himself. This is what it looked like from my perspective. Once Teddy was frozen, all we had to do was place the boat and use the same trick we just used to get over here. I drove onto Teddy's head, stopping myself before I fell off. Then I got out of the boat and used it as a platform. Grox was able to jump across just like it was a block and get to the side with me. The only downside is now Teddy was stuck. If he undid the glitch, he would fall straight down at max speed and die of fall damage. So for now, even though he was sad, we were gonna have to leave him behind.
Alright, I'm gonna go make some food.
Me and Grox continued deeper into the prison, but now without Teddy. This next room was strange. It had two different ways to go with different drops. One had nothing and one had powdered snow to stop you from taking damage. So I told Grox to take a look at this one where you would take damage, and then I punched him in because I didn't want to go in that one. I dropped into the powdered snow one and immediately started looking around. There was a screaming goat and a piece of cobblestone on the wall. The goat came closer, and that's when I saw he was suspiciously named. The only other thing on my side though was this villager who would trade one goat horn for a bucket. Other than that, my room seemed empty. Meanwhile, after I knocked Grox in, he started looking around his room. Right off the bat, he also could see a villager in his, so he went to go explore and see what else there was.
Nah! I'm blind for 15 weeks.
Grox was not blind for 15 weeks. It was more like 10 days, but that's still way too long for us to wait for it to go away. So he had to try to make do. He started looking around and he found this pit that was so deep he couldn't see the bottom, along with a jump that he could normally make, but when you're blind you can't sprint, so he couldn't make it. He went back and picked up the tripwire and tripwire hooks that set off the trap on him, and he looked at this villager in the corner. He offered two trades, a glass bottle for a furnace and 2 string and 2 tripwire hooks for a blaze rod, but Grox didn't know why he'd do these yet, so he waited. Back on my side, I was trying to figure out what I even had to do in this room, but then I got a clue. I stood still long enough where the goat tackled me. That's because he's a screaming goat, and about every 20 seconds they'll look for something to tackle. That's when I remembered how you get goat horns. All you have to do is dodge their tackle right before it hits you and let them hit their head into the wall. But I did it and nothing dropped. It didn't work. That's when I did a little digging and found out it only works with 4 blocks: ores, ice, logs, and stone, and I didn't have any of those. I did, however, have cobblestone that could be smelted into stone, and I think you can see where this is going. Grox went ahead and did his trades because somehow he was going to have to smelt my cobblestone for me. After doing his trades, now he had a furnace and a blaze rod, and the first thing he thought to do was to use the furnace so that he could make this jump that he couldn't make before. So by placing the block just in the middle, he was able to jump on the furnace and then on the block. Then he came to another 2 wide jump, but he could make this without sprint, so he did it. But now he got to another jump that he wasn't going to be able to make without sprinting. And again, when you're blind, you can't sprint. So he had to turn around and go back. But now we were just stuck again. Somehow Grox had to get my cobblestone from me, but we had no way to get it to him. That's until he went to go beat the villager and noticed something he hadn't seen before. A boat with a chest crammed into the wall. He was able to right click and access it, and he told me to check my corner to see if I had one too. That way we could pass the items back and forth. But when I went to go check the corner he told me the boat chest was in, I had nothing, so we were just stuck again. That's until I had a really good idea. I used F3 and B. This enabled hitboxes, and now I could see something I had not been able to see before. Even though I couldn't visually see the chest boat, the hitbox was clipping through the corner, allowing me to access it if I clicked just the right place. Now me and Grox had a way to pass items back and forth. I gave him my cobblestone and he went ahead and used the furnace and the blaze rod to smelt it into stone. Then he took the stone and put it back in the chest and gave it to me. Now that I had the stone, I'd be able to get the goat horn. I had to wait for him to try to tackle me and jump up and place the block down. The goat hit his head into the stone, knocking off his horn. Then I had to hit him a few times to pay him back for all the times he tackled me. But now I had everything I needed to do the trade, so I did 1 goat horn for a bucket. And now I could grab this powdered snow I dropped in before, but then something dawned on me. I had no idea what I was supposed to do with the bucket. Like, I couldn't get out of here without leather boots. This whole time I was focused on getting the bucket, but I didn't know why. That's when I started thinking, what else could I do with the bucket? And that's when I got a sign. Yeah, the answer was the goat. There was actually something else in this room I could use the bucket on other than the powdered snow, and it was the goat. I could use him to get a bucket of milk. And this item is usually not that useful, but if your friend is blind for 10 days, it just happens to have the ability to clear all potion effects from someone who drinks it. So all Grox had to do was drink the bucket.
Nah, I'm not drinking that.
After a little convincing, Grox drank the milk, and when he did, it removed his blindness and he could see a villager at the end of these jumps that he couldn't before. The jumps were way easier because Grox had the ability to sprint again, so he started making his way to the end.
Hey man, do you like my new leather shoe?
Grox had to kill the villager in order to get the leather boots he was wearing. The only other thing on this side was a sign that said use boat here, but we didn't have a boat. But you know who did? Teddy, on top of his head, where he was still frozen in the air from earlier in the prison. And we had everything we needed to now rescue Teddy. Grox put all his items in the chest for me and I went and go pick them up. Now with the leather boots in the bucket, I'd be able to use the powdered snow to get out of my room. But before I left, I had to get a bucket of milk for the road. I went over and picked up the powdered snow and started using it against the wall to build my way up. Now I was out, right back where we left Teddy. Now all I had to do was get inside the boat and drive down to the bottom of this hole so I wouldn't take fall damage. See, the server still thinks Teddy's floating up there in the air, so he hasn't taken any damage yet. This means all I had to do was line up the powdered snow with where I thought Teddy was gonna land, and if I got it right, he would land in the powdered snow and have all his fall damage cancelled. So I was careful to make sure I had it right, and then I just told Teddy to go for it.
Alright. Here we go.
Let's go!
I'm alive! Oh!
Me and Teddy weren't out of the thick of it just yet though, because now we were at the bottom of this hole, and the way out was obvious. We had to use the powdered snow and the boots to build up. The only problem is it was really tall, so if at any point we screw up and fell to the bottom, we could still die trying to get out of this hole. But luckily, using powdered snow and leather boots to climb walls is pretty easy. It just comes down to getting it in a pattern where you jump, right click, right click. I'd say honestly the most important part of it is just where you put your crosshair. If you set it up right, it's really easy. I managed to get to the top and then I just turned around and threw down the powdered snow and the leather boots to Teddy. It was now his turn. But you already know Teddy's that god gamer, so he made his way up also on his first try without falling. So now all we had to do was bring the boat to Grox and use it where the sign told us. So we started heading there. Teddy hit an absolutely insane MLG to prevent us from taking fall damage, and I followed him. We started heading towards the parkour, and for those of you who don't know, I'm actually pretty awful at parkour in Minecraft. I don't know, I've just never been good at it, but these jumps were simple enough, so I made it to the other side, and Teddy was right behind me, and all three of the boys were finally back together again. Now, at this point, all we did was collect the sign on the wall and put the boat where it told us to put it. Obviously, it was going to be another boat glitch through the corner. When I got out, there was a stone pressure plate and a netherite door preventing me from going further. This room had a really tall roof made out of dirt. With nothing else to do, I just went ahead and stepped on the pressure plate. The door opened, but before I could get through it, it shut again, meaning one of us was going to have to hold it open while the other two... That's when TNT exploded on the roof, revealing lava behind the dirt. We were now on a timer. We had to get out of this room. But when I stepped on the pressure plate, I couldn't make it to the door. I stepped again, but then I got off because Teddy and Grox were going to try to leave me in here. None of us wanted to be the one to stand on the pressure plate while the other two kept going. We were arguing back and forth trying to figure out who would stay behind when me and Teddy eventually came up with a really good plan. We told Grox to get on the pressure plate and we would jam the door. I put one sign on this piston and Teddy put his powdered snow bucket on the bottom. These items would stop the door from shutting and making it so Grox could get off and all three of us could move through. Now we continued down the hallway and that's when I saw it. What appeared to be the sky. I ran to the end of the tunnel and we were out. We had escaped the Piston Prison. I could see the outside world. Weirdly though, there was one villager out here waiting for us, so I went over to see what his deal was. Did you see my brother's No!